Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. So, as we're gearing up somewhat to, I would say, the release of Gotham Knights, or maybe getting more information anyways, I think it's kind of important for us to go back and look at some of the details that have been hopped over in the past few months. And I think these details are very key in answering the question as to the nature of the gameplay loop or the nature of what kind of game this will be. Now, everyone who is, into the Arkham games understands that when you play any of those games, you're going to be getting a single player experience, except in the case of Arkham Origins, where there was an online mode, and the online mode allowed for you to be able to do some other things. Now, I never played the online mode. I didn't have internet at the time I was actually playing. I remember we moved into this apartment, and there was no internet service that was affordable. So I just enjoyed my single player of all my games. But then afterwards, I tried, I think after a few years later, to play the online mode, and there was no service on Steam for it available. So, I guess that was a toss-up with Arkham Origins. I enjoyed the game anyways. Now, I remember again that early this year, I was actually perusing Warner Brothers Games, job hirings. And there was something that really caught my attention because they were hiring for a community manager. And that position is no longer available because since then, a community manager has actually filled that position. In fact, the young lady had a little presentation on Twitter that Warner Brothers Games Montreal did on their Twitter page, and it was a little introduction to who she is and a lot of her story as to why she loves video games. So that community manager position, I think, is already occupied. Who knows? They might be hiring others, or they might, eventually put out another information page saying, we want a community manager. But here is the information that I gleaned because I actually did make a video about this in February of this year. In fact, the position states Warner Brothers Games Montreal, a division of Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, seeks a community manager to help build an engaged and loyal community for a AAA unannounced game. Please note that in February, we did not have any announcement for this game all through, it was August where we first got our first announcement, officially anyways, about Gotham Knights. They said the community manager will act as a voice of the game team to the players while representing the voice of the players to the game team. Community manager is responsible for leading the development and execution of community engagement programs, creating compelling content for our community channels, and monitoring the forums. We're seeking a passionate candidate who has a proven record of success building communities with an emphasis on games. The ideal candidate must be both a strong individual contributor and have the ability to be grounded team member of the team. Now, this is basically the title of the whole thing, but I think where the nugget is the very first line of the job responsibilities. This said, community engagement, create content, including editorial posts for use across multiple channels, polls, and contests to engage the community, building loyal fans, spread positive sentiment, and incentivize players to log in every day. Now, once I read this, I had stopped a little bit in my tracks and I said, to log in every day, that to me sounds like somewhat of a game that has a service model attached to it. Now, calm down. I'm not saying that Gotham Knights is a live service game. I'm saying is this language is very close to somebody soliciting for a community manager that's going to keep the community engaged to consistently play the game. Now, if it was a single player game, I can see how that's probably something, but in the reveal, they brought a multiplayer element to present to the audience. This added a second layer of complexity, and it got me, thinking, got my wheels spinning, and I said to myself, I wonder if this game is most likely going to show up as some sort of a MMO game, but Patrick Redding himself said they're not trying to develop a 4-player type game. In fact, he said whenever you go design a 4-player mode, you now have to develop environments that can adapt to that play style, and their team was not interested in doing that. So he basically shut down that idea of the potential of having, this game be like some kind of a Marvel's Avengers type thing. Now, what else can you compare the model to? Because one thing about gaming is if you have a multiplayer, then, you basically are following some established model done somewhere. I think that what we're going to be seeing with this game is some level of, what these RPG looter shooters actually do, do very well. And that is in creating dynamic content that allows for players to come back and creating the player characters to a point where they can constantly develop and get stronger as part of their progression. This is basically an RPG framework that will differ from the other Arkham games, but in the case of Gotham Knights, it's going to have more of that being fleshed out. And the companion mechanism where you can, play with a friend or you can play solo, but that multiplayer mechanism is designed in order for people to be able to get this I'm playing with my buddy type feeling, and not necessarily I'm playing with a whole bunch of, people feeling. No, they wanted to have some level of the personable nature to it. I think with this, DLCs and characters and bosses and new areas are most likely going to be the potential progression as well. Say maybe you beat the base story, then you're doing all kinds of activities, you're getting your character stronger. Over time, there might be that potential where they come in and say, hey, this new villain has been sighted over here, and it's your job as the Gotham Knights to go and, demolish them or go check out what's going on. So maybe you do a bunch of preliminary tasks. This is something that gameplay designers actually take their time to do, and then you eventually unlock specific events that are triggered for you to then go deal with this boss. This is just my own limited perception of what I think a progression can look like. Now, another thing that we must not discard is the development team, and basically based on Patrick Redding's own, words and intentions, is very adept to say they're looking for players to enjoy a deep narrative experience. So yes, even though the game seems like it's going to have some level of, live play or live servicing or whatever you want to call it, mini online experience, we still are in a place where the development team seems like they're committed to giving a strong narrative as something that the players need to enjoy as the game progresses. So these are basically a few, I would say, hypotheses I've been able to form from just this, community manager job description, because it just seems like the development team wants a different level of engagement with the team. And yes, it does help with marketing as well. I mean, if they were to say maybe there's a skin that people can actually go farm for, go hunt for, if you do this activity or you do this sequence of things, you're able to get this new skin. That mostly is something that, I would say players are going to be excited about. I mean, think about it. If there's some skin somewhere that you can go fight for or farm for, then that's a cool deal. I think the one thing, though, that I'm not going to mention in this video or talk about is the potential for monetization as well. I'm not against monetization if it's fair, but I think I see what they're probably trying to set up, because that's some model that works. But again, Warner Brothers kind of shifted itself away from a monetization system with Middle-earth Shadow of War. But then if you look at Mortal Kombat 11, which is a game that was published under them, that has some monetization on cosmetic levels anyways. So I play Mortal Kombat 11 and I have no problem with it. I've bought a skin or two with, cash, and I've also, just decided not to even bother doing that anymore. I now just farm the in-game, rewards that you do by playing the game anyways. But this is basically what I think a portion of the framework of Gotham Knights will be, and I'm not necessarily sure what else they have on hand. But I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. It's interesting to have these conversations with you guys. Let me know what you think. Do you think that there's something more or something else or a different direction that they want to take this game in? Or do you think, we're going to get a very strong narrative and the multiplayer is just going to be basically an additive to the game? I'll talk to y'all in another video. Thank you so much for your time and audience. I appreciate you guys a lot. Hopefully you stick around in the Video Game Fight School community. We'll be happy to have you. Hit the subscribe button if that's what you choose to do. And I'll talk to y'all in another one. Peace.